Does the wording matter depending on where you're calling in the US? Have you seen that actually matters or not really? Welcome back. We've got Israel and Alexis from REDX right out of Utah. They're in-house. So guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to be talking about prospecting, but practicing, right? And I think that's something that is often overlooked when it comes to just prospecting. And I'll tell you, being honest in this, I did it a lot at the beginning. And then as I grew into it, I did it less and less. So I'm excited to talk to you guys about this because I agree with the practicing.
Right.
Because things are always changing, and the smallest thing can make a big difference in what you say and how you connect with people. So Israel, can you do a quick intro, and then Alexis, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Israel Rivero, I work with the RedX. I've been here for about 1.5 years. I'm the VP of Customer Success. And yeah, that's our purpose here, is to help realtors go out there and prospect and find success in the business, make sure that it's a scalable thing, and get them out there prospecting and finding clients.
Love that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alexis Barragan. I am a supervisor manager here at the customer success team at REDX. And I love talking with customers on a daily basis, really from all walks of life, from all skill levels, from all levels of experience, and really to help them take the next step in their business, whether that's in utilizing the tools and the software that's available, or just learning about what to say when they talk to potential clients. And so
I like that. So are either one of you in charge of that secret line where people call up and they're like, okay, let's script, choose 1, 2, or 3 difficulty?
The secret line, yes, we're both in charge of it. Alexis probably dabbles more on the operational side than I do, but yes, that's that role play line where people can call in and kind of just get warmed up, right? Get out there, get warmed up, because sometimes you get the left hook and the right hook when you start prospecting, so it kind of sets you up and gets you ready in that mindset. So yes, absolutely.
All right, cool. And you guys actually are the ones, one of you is the one who picks up and scripts with us, or no?
No. We're over it just to make sure it's our customer success reps that will do that. And we open up the queue for about 4 hours a day. And we try to, take as many calls as we can get during that 4-hour period.
That's cool.
Sometimes it's hot, as in like there's a lot of people calling, and sometimes you get lucky and you get right through. So, but as many as we can get, we'll try to help them out to get into that mindset.
I like that. All right, well, let's get right into it, guys. When it comes to practicing, what have you found that the top agents or high achievers in real estate do on a consistent basis? Is it a style of practicing? Is it just the regular, let's practice the scripts, or what are you finding works best?
So I'd love to just back up a little bit on that question, if I may.
Oh, dude, please.
One of the things that we have found for top producing agents is just the kind of the reality check that, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, hey, you know what I think I'll do today? I think I'll pump through 100 phone calls and potentially get yelled at, right?
Yeah,
it's the best thing in the world. I just can't wait to do that. So I think number one is hearing from them and hearing that, hey, listen, sometimes it's not fun for us either. Okay. It's not like we're completely untouchable to the inevitable bad calls that you'll have to kind of muscle through to get to like the golden nuggets. Right. So I think that's step one, right? I think hearing them, as we've had a couple of top producers come and visit us in the office, I thought that was the first most interesting thing that they said, which was, hey, listen, we don't have some kind of secret sauce for this. It's just a matter of, it's a numbers game, right? So you got to get out there and you have to get into that mindset, realizing that you're about to pick up the phone and you're probably going to muscle through some not so great phone calls in an effort to get to that 1, 2, or hopefully 3 that may turn into something amazing for you. So I think that's step one, is acknowledging that mindset of, hey, I have to do this because this is good for my business. And then I think I can answer your question, which is what I think that many of them do is they have scripts first and foremost, right?
Okay.
Would you agree with that? Probably.
Certainly. So, I mean, there's definitely scripts that are involved, whether those are the ones that are provided by REDX, or you work to base your own script and write your own script off of some scripts that you can find online through various sources. And once you have that script, one thing that we find from top producing agents is that they need to intentionally set aside time on a daily basis, or at least on a weekly basis, to either practice their scripts on their own and practice scripts with other people, whether that's someone in their own brokerage, through a Facebook group. There's lots of different ways to do that, but it has to be intentional. They have to practice every day on their own to master their scripts, and then practice with other people so that they can work to overcome the various objections that they might get on a daily basis.
All right. So I agree with you in the sense that, we're going back to what Israel said, the mindset, because I don't always wake up and I'm like, I'm ready to call, right? How do we get ready? How do we get into that state, man? I think that's probably the biggest challenge, because most of us wake up not ready to call.
Right. And I think something that pops to mind as we talk about that kind of mental state, and yet again, another thing that I've heard from top producers is creating some type of accountability for yourself. Ooh. Much like exercising, much like going to the gym. It's like, at least for me, I don't know if it's anybody else, but I wake up in the morning, I'm like, man, that's the last thing I want to do is work out sometimes, right? So, but I have a gym buddy waiting for me over there. And if I don't show up, I know I'm going to get grief for it, right? So
that's true.
I've heard also from the top producers that they create a network of accountability, and they will have other agents that, whether it's, they drop $100 on the table for that week, and whoever ends up not doing their hour of prospecting calls keeps the $100 or all, or whatever that is. So I've heard of individuals just going into the office at certain times, and that's the way that they hold each other accountable, and they call for an hour. So realizing that getting yourself in the mindset is not always the most exciting thing in the world, and creating different avenues for creating accountability is another way that I have heard of top producers creating that accountability for themselves, and it's worked great. So nobody wants to lose $100, right? So you're out there making sure that you get your calls in.
I like that, man. That's actually a really good point. I was talking to, I don't know who I was talking to yesterday about, Hal. I was talking to Hal Elrod from Miracle Morning yesterday, just about accountability and about processes. And what we ended up talking about was that accountability is key, but sometimes just having a process that you can jump into creates a routine and creates a habit, mental habit. So you just go into it. Right. So you know exactly what to do. The accountability, I think, keeps you sharp, right, and it keeps you focused even more. So I love that. That's a really good idea. And obviously, if there's money to lose, I'm probably going to try a little bit more.
Same, right? Yeah, exactly.
That's very funny, dude. I think now I just found the way to work out even more.
There you go. Put $100 down for the week, right?
If you don't show up, daily. If you don't show up, it's $100 to me.
Yeah,
that's
right.
So good.
You might start a business like that. Huh?
It's an MLM. It's called Workout Every Day.
I like it.
I'm going to recruit you and Alexis. Okay.
All right.
Let's do it.
So what do you guys find next then? Is that where then we go to where Alexis said, and we have a dialogue that we either use from you or that we create on our own based on what we've done in the past?
Yeah. Want to take that one?
Totally. Yeah. So, I mean, these scripts, there are so many resources for the scripts and the approaches that you're looking for. However, a script, once you master it, can only take you so far. So the first step is to really get to know that script. So as I mentioned, you want to set aside that time to say your script out loud, to really speak it out loud. And then oftentimes these top producers will record themselves while they're saying these scripts out loud, so that they can focus on their tone. They can focus on making sure they enunciate correctly. They can focus on flow, pacing, all of these things, because at the end of the day, these phone calls are kind of like an audition. If you don't perform well on the phone call, then you won't get that role. You won't get that appointment to take the next step. And so really they have to focus on how they sound over the phone, because that's the only way that these prospects know who you are. It's how you sound. So once they do that, then they can start going into these different approaches of how to actually tailor the script to the situation.
That's a really good point, man. I think that the tonality and the approach to what you're saying, the words matter. I think
Right.
that's what we forget. Right? Words matter a lot. And have you noticed when it comes to the scripts, since you guys do this on the back end and you get to see everything, does the wording matter depending on where you're calling in the US? Have you seen that actually matters or not really?
So from my experience, I haven't seen that it mattered very much. I mean, depending on the type of approach that you're taking with the type of prospects that you're calling, whether you're trying to establish yourself as the local expert in your neighborhood or a neighborhood, or whether you're calling expired leads, the approach will be slightly different. So the scripts will be different, but how the actual specific words based on regions or locations, I haven't seen any difference really.
Okay, so then that's good to know. What about different areas within a specific, like LA? Let's just say LA. We go for townhomes versus single family residences and then luxury. Does it matter then at that point, or are we still going and approaching it the same way?
Can I take that one? So if I think the approach at the very beginning is one and the same, right? So one of the, going back to mindset, as you prepare mentally to make these calls, right? Why are you calling? Like, ask yourself that question for a second. Why are you making those calls, right? And the reality is, if I'm calling expireds, I'm calling because I'm going to try to help somebody to achieve something that they were not able to do. I am out to go help, right? That's number one, like taking that and saying, I'm here to try to help you on something that you were not able to do that. So that's one thing that I think would be important in the tonality of what we use, how we practice, how we create our scripts. The other thought that comes to mind is, as we like to say it, there's never a wrong number. There's no such thing as a wrong number. You get somebody on the phone willing to talk to you, you talk to them. Forget the script, throw it out the window, right? So the script is there to get you prepared, to get you to have talking points, and to get you, of course, to practice and improve. However, when you're there and you have somebody on the phone willing to listen to you, you just run with it and go where the conversation takes you. And that will only develop through practice. And that's part of the role play. That's part of you just getting out there and doing it, creating the accountability. But really and truly, it's that approach of saying, I'm here to help. I'm here to help facilitate something that is very personal and very important to individuals, and that's real estate. That's where they live, right?
Mhm.
And so I think creating that mindset and truly believing that and truly understanding that helps with the nerves as well, because that's what everybody has too, right? When you're prospecting, you're like going to make these calls and you're like, oh, here we go, and you get nervous and you get butterflies. Well, just remember what you're out there to do. You're not out there just trying to bother people. You're out there trying to help people.
And that's what we try to encourage these agents. Oftentimes they try to overanalyze and over prepare. They just say, well, they have to analyze every single person that they're going to call that day to see how best to tailor the conversation before they actually get them on the phone. But really the first step, like Israel said, is just know why you're calling, be prepared with the script, and then just do it. And then as you have them on your phone, active listening with the various skills that we help these agents learn, and these skills that they would learn, really understand what the prospect is going to do.
And if I may add real quick, one more thing, Tristan, and as the conversation develops, then I think the approach is slightly different. We're talking about a townhome or we're talking about a multi-million-dollar home.
Got it.
Absolutely, right? And then you start to tailor that at that point. Then what's important is, what can I do for you, right? How can I help you, and so on and so forth. So you got to let that kind of naturally guide. But like Alexis said, just kind of getting in your head too much prior to, you don't even know if they're going to talk to you. So spending that much time doing the pre-work oftentimes may just be a cause of paralysis. Just make the call, get out there and make the call. Practice makes perfect. And eventually you'll start to develop those skills that will lead you to more business.
All right. That makes a lot of sense, guys. I like that approach. All right. So now when practicing scripts, what have you seen actually works? Because a lot of people say, yeah, let's practice. And then maybe it goes on for about a month, maybe. And then the practice stops. How have you seen the consistency stays over a long period of time besides like show up to pay, right? Anything else that you've seen works very long term? Do we have to switch partners? Do we stay with the same? What does that look like on your end?
Yeah, that's a great question. So finding a role play partner and someone to practice with, it's going to be something that you'll continually do. We have a lot of agents that they, like you mentioned, they rotate the partners that they work with for a few different reasons. One is because that person that you've been role playing with might not have every possible scenario that you can think of, might not have every objection they can throw at you. And so being able to hear different voices, different approaches, different scenarios, that will just improve your prospecting overall, your scripts overall. So that's just to make you better. However, like you said, to create that consistency, I mean, we have agents that will have a group of 4 or 5 role play partners that they will cycle through the weeks. They may have one that they'll do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and another that they'll do Tuesday, Thursday. And essentially they just schedule that out. That's another thing. It's got to be scheduled on their calendar to make sure that nothing else interrupts that role playing practice time. Because if you just kind of say, well, we'll plan on doing it this time, we'll see what happens. There's so many things that can get in the way of that practice time, whether it's other important things or things that you kind of move into place, not to mention there's that hesitancy to practice in the first place. And so it really has to be put on the calendar and the shared calendar with whoever that you're doing that with.
Right.
Got it. That makes sense.
I've actually heard of some realtors who will black out, like literally that's their blackout time and they will not move it for anything other than the emergencies, right? So they've understood the difference between whirlwind and the important, right? We all have whirlwind every day. We all have stuff that has to get done, but that is a protected block of time that they account for their prospecting, regardless of what happens in that day. And that, again, that goes back to accountability, that goes back to consistency. But ultimately, and this is kind of a cliche response, but it is the truth, it's that word, patience. Once you start to see results, right, it's more exciting. Going back to the gym analysis, right, or the gym example, it's like, oh, wow, I see results now. I start to get more excited about going to the gym, but it takes time. We've had reps in the past that give prospecting a week and they're like, I just don't see a week. Are you kidding me? It's taking years, right? So you have to just grind and grind. And then one day you wake up in the morning and you're like, I've created an amazing circle of influence. I've created an amazing business, but you're looking back and it's years oftentimes, right? It's years of grinding. So
yeah,
there's no substitute for that. You just have to have the patience, the grind, the willpower, and the accountability, whatever it takes to recognize that you can't let the whirlwind get in the way of the important. And this is the important to scale your business, right? Maybe not the most comfortable, but the most important.
that's very true. How do you find that the tools that RedX has to offer helps with that?
Yeah, there's a lot of resources that we have. Firstly, like we mentioned previously, we do have scripts that we offer for every single lead type. We have even a few different scripts that we offer, variations of those scripts on our website, including different approaches, different ideas of how to potentially get that appointment. Not only that, but like you mentioned, we do have that role play line where customers can call in and really they just let us know exactly what they're looking for. If they want to practice an expired script, but let's say this is their first time doing it, they might say, but go easy on me. We'll say, no problem. Any specific objections you want to work on, in case you've been hearing this one over and over and over again, like, oh, what's an example? Well, let me talk to my spouse before I commit to anything and I'll give you a call back. Just a typical objection like that you might hear. And then we give them solutions of how to overcome those objections. And then we practice and help them work through their scripts, overcome those objections so they can work towards that listing appointment and get that practice in.
From a technical standpoint too, Tristan, beyond just the the actual prospecting side of things. Of course, we offer different lead types and different options that you can use to contact. And we have a really, really amazing customer success team that will help you walk through whatever it takes to get you prospecting. Our team is called the customer success team because that's literally our purpose, is how can we help you succeed? How can we help you remove roadblocks? What can we do to help you train to get, and we've had individuals who just called in the past who just like, hey, I need to walk me off the ledge here. You know, I'm ready to cancel. I'm not sure if I'm made for this. And our reps will kind of just take on that almost coach hat for a second to say, hey, you got to give this a little more time, give it some time. And there's been amazing success stories from individuals that called in ready to cancel, right? Because they're like, I just don't know if I can do this.
Cold calling's not for me.
And cold calling is not for me. Well, it is. Just give it time and give it the patience and give it the energy that it deserves, and it will pay off. It will pay off.
So how would you recommend somebody who wants to take on cold calling to really take this on in a way that can help them succeed? Like, how do we work consistently on our mindset, right? How do we find the right people to script with? And how often should we be practicing? Is this a daily thing? And how often should we be actually calling?
Right. I think it depends on, of course, the individual, right? It depends on how motivated a person is versus how unmotivated a person is, how terrified. Some people are terrified, Tristan. Some people are terrified of getting on the phone and talking to somebody, just cold calling, right? Just talking to somebody who they haven't talked to in the past. And so it just depends on where you are in that level. But ultimately, I think the best approach to this is first and foremost to recognize where you are, right? Like where am I? Am I on practice mode, or am I on just start pumping these calls mode? So you may not be ready to call. So step one, to somebody, if I'm talking to somebody who's never prospected ever, right? And they just signed up to RedX, they got their license last week and they've already called their circle of influence, right? And they're just brand new and they're like, I'm ready, man. I'm ready for this.
Yeah.
The first thing I'm going to tell them is, okay, just one, first and foremost, get your scripts. Secondly, right, let's call in maybe the role play and get a couple of those out of the way, right?
Yes.
And thirdly, let me get you in the mindset that get ready for some left and right hooks. They're coming, right? Don't let that don't let that deflate you, because it's going to happen and you may sound awkward at first and you may completely botch the script. It's okay. Keep pumping through, keep practicing. I truly don't believe that people are made or not made for this. I think everybody can do it. Every personality can do it, and you use your own strengths, right? It's just practice.
So yeah, schedule it out. Get that role play partner. You can find those again with us here at RedX. We have the RedX forum where you can go on and look for a role play partner. There's other groups as well where you can look for other agents that would like to role play at the same time. And yeah, just get that consistency in there, like you mentioned, on a daily basis even.
That's actually really good. I love that phrase. Anyone can prospect.
Right.
That's so cool, dude. I think for a long time looking in, so I'm a prospector, but looking in, just sometimes I feel like some agents feel like using RedX or prospecting is just not for them. It's for like somebody who's a shark, who's really good on the phones, got their dialogue skills down, has rhino skin, right?
Right.
But you're right. I'm looking back and I'm like, this is for everybody.
Yeah.
It just depends how you approach it.
Right. And don't try to change who you are. If you're a soft-spoken person, you're a soft-spoken person. You're not going to change that about yourself. If you're a funny guy, be a funny guy on the phone.
Yeah.
You know, that's not about changing you. It's just about practicing and creating the best version of you. Because I go back to my original comments. Why are you calling? Yes, you're trying to grow your business, but your business happens to be to offer somebody a solution. Going back to the expired example, they did not sell their home. They were unsuccessful. I'm going to try to help you find the solution for that. You call with that lens, and it's a very different approach than you thinking in your mind, oh my gosh, I'm going to bother 100 people today. I'm just going to piss them off. Well, no, you're not. You're there to help. and use your tonality, use who you are, use your strengths and the practice that you've done. And yes, I go back to my comment. Anyone can do it if you approach it that way.
I love that, man. I love that. All right, guys, anything else you want to add here in closing? Because I know that that secret line is underused.
Right. Yeah. The only thing I'd say is get out there and do it. Be patient, right? And depending on where you are, if it's practice, if it's creating the scripts, we're here to help. Otherwise, you just got to grind through. There's no other solution to it, man. Got to grind through it.
Yeah, I think that's part of what we don't expect as coming in as real estate agents. And even when we're successful, we sometimes forget that that grind is still part of it consistently, right? You've got to work hard at it. Yeah, great point, guys. I loved interviewing you. Thank you for doing what you do. And we put up the links there just in case anybody wants to go there and visit. We appreciate you, Israel. Alex, very nice to meet you too.
Great to meet you, Tristan. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, guys.